If you like what I do, consider joining my channel or donating to my coffee. Links in the description.
Look at this distinguished gentleman. Look at the way he is sitting. Yes, very distinguished. I see.
Tiny Dangerous Dungeons Remake is a remake of the video game Tiny Dangerous Dungeons. Thanks for watching. Oh, brilliant! Exactly the hard-hitting analysis we've come to expect from the guru. Positively outstanding. Exquisite. The original Dungeons was released as a Flash game way back in 2013, before making itself available on Steam in 2019. And though I never played the original, from the looks of things, it's a Game Boy era throwback, which isn't my favorite aesthetic. I grew up with a Game Boy and appreciated it for what it was back then, but as an aging adult, my eyes just don't take too kindly to the monochromatic shades of yesteryear. But that's no longer an issue, as the folks over at Adventure Games have upgraded their game using modern technology. With reworked sprites and an impressive grasp of the color palette, Tiny Dangerous Dungeons has been remade! So, what is Tiny Dangerous Dungeons Remake besides a remake of Tiny Dangerous Dungeons? Oh, he said it again! Brilliant! Just brilliant! Players step into the shoes of Timber, a treasure hunter seeking legendary treasure within an ancient temple, or dungeon, or whatever. After falling into a trap at the entrance like an absolute dweeb, Timber must navigate its perilous corridors to find both the treasure and a way out. This remake expands upon the original with improved physics, vibrant graphics, and an entirely new soundtrack. But is that enough to bring new life into this aged Metroidvania?
Combat.
Dungeons makes the bold move of not having any combat at the beginning of the game, requiring players to lean on their platforming skills to navigate enemies and hazards. This actually extends to the game's first boss, where you have to figure out how to defeat him without attacking. But once you figure that out, you'll soon come across Timmy's weapon, throwing knives. And they do exactly as you'd expect. Stab things from a distance. Timmy has an unlimited amount of knives, and throwing them feels pretty good. And since all regular enemies die in one hit and are mostly frogs, spiders, and bats, there's not a whole lot they could do to stop Timmy's onslaught. Eventually, these critters wise up and start wearing armor to deflect Timmy's projectiles, but that's nothing a good old stomping can't handle. After Timmy finds the spiked souls, he can hop on enemies as if he were the third Mario brother. And that's Timmy's entire repertoire. Long distance stabbing and up close stomping. And these attacks are effective against the bosses too. Bosses are typically just giant versions of regular enemies, but each boss needs to be approached differently. Kinda like their mini puzzles, which works very well considering Dungeons is not a very difficult game. Though the game's final boss on the true path had me sweating. That final boss was actually pretty dang good. I'd argue that all the bosses in Dungeons are pretty dang good. They may not be super challenging, but they're all mechanically interesting and fun to fight. But if you're looking for a challenge, you won't be getting that in Dungeons. At least, not as a veteran video game enjoyer, but a kid who hasn't played as many video games, I bet they'd love Dungeons and find it challenging in parts. And as I always say on this channel, easier Metroidvanias should be praised for their accessibility. I get that every MV wants to be the next big thing with amazing combat and hardcore platforming challenges. But we should also allow room for gateway games such as Tiny Dangerous Dungeons Remake to shine. We gotta make way for the next generation of Metroidvanias, and Dungeons is a fantastic entry point with its simple and easy, yet fun combat. And that's it for combat. Tiny Dangerous Dungeons Remake keeps its combat simple, accessible, and fun, making it an excellent choice for newcomers to the genre. While seasoned players won't find much of a combat challenge, the game's creative boss fights and smooth mechanics ensure that throwing knives and stomping foes never feel dull. By prioritizing approachability over complexity, Dungeons carves out a space as a welcoming, beginner-friendly Metroidvania. one that still offers plenty of enjoyment to veterans looking for a light, nostalgic adventure. I mean, I'm 40 and I still had a blast with the game.
Abilities, platforming.
Keeping with the theme of accessibility, Dungeons keeps things simple when it comes to abilities. During his journey, instead of getting movement upgrades like double jumps or dashes, Timmy gathers items that allow him to interact with his environment, such as acquiring the power glove so he can push boxes and the flippers so he can swim. Because of this, movement in Dungeons feels the same at the start as it does in the end, though the spiked souls are pretty amazing and significantly change how you approach the world. As for platforming, it ranges from serviceable to clever to wow, this is impressive and quite challenging actually. Serviceable in that moment-to-moment gameplay feels good, clever with some of the push puzzles in the game, and wow, this is impressive and quite challenging actually when it comes to the optional hidden areas platforming challenges. They're no path of pain, but they're an unexpected spike in difficulty. These sections aren't too hard, but they will have you sit up straight to do them. That's it for this section. Tiny Dangerous Dungeons Remake keeps its abilities and platforming simple but effective, making it easy to pick up while still offering moments of clever design. The lack of movement upgrades might make traversal feel static, but the game makes up for it with environmental interactions and well-crafted platforming challenges, especially in the optional hidden areas. While it won't push genre veterans to their limits, it provides a solid, enjoyable platforming experience that balances accessibility with a touch of challenge for those who seek it.
Progression.
Not a whole lot to talk about here. Dungeons is a Metroidvania with a run time of about 3 hours on your first playthrough with the true ending. The only thing Timmy can increase is his HP, and you do that by finding fruits of life hidden throughout the dungeon. And that's actually it for this section. Dungeon keeps things very simple in its short runtime. But remember, simple is not a dirty word on this channel.
Exploration.
Exploration is where Dungeons truly shines. To me, Dungeons exploration is a perfect microcosm of what Metroidvania exploration should be, distilled to its purest form, and it accomplishes this mainly because it's such a short experience. Dungeons world is small with around 6 biomes, each biome with only a handful of rooms. And each of these rooms has some kind of challenge or puzzle or hidden something that makes them memorable, despite many of the rooms within each biome actually looking identical. This helps a lot with backtracking, which Dungeons uses to excellent effect. Many of the game's biomes are locked behind doors that require certain colored keys to open. The game conditions players to find the key, then find or return to the door to use the key. So, backtracking is essential for the critical path. I know that sounds rudimentary, but you'd be surprised at how many MVs don't do this. Not that backtracking to advance is necessary for an MV, but it certainly helps in creating an interesting interconnected world, as well as giving the MV feel that we all know and love. Anyway, the game eventually pulls the rug out from under you. At one point, you get a key, open up the in-game map to see where the key's door is, go to that door, and then, uh-oh, you can't reach it. Why? Probably because you're lacking in ability or something. Now, for the first time, you're being forced to find your own way instead of relying on the find key, find door process you've leaned on thus far in the game. Now, you open your map and actively search for new leads. It's a small thing, leading players to interact with the game one way and then forcing them to finally view the dungeon as an open world instead of a series of events, but it's highly effective for immersion. Something else that helps with immersion is that the world slightly recontextualizes itself by adding more enemies in areas that didn't have these enemies before, namely these red frogs. Like I said, it's the little things that add to immersion. Another thing in Dungeon's favor, thanks to its short runtime, is the constant flow of dopamine hits. You're constantly finding stuff. Keys, fruits to increase your HP, new abilities, new paths forward, hidden paths, and challenges. There's literally no downtime in this game. You're always moving forward and improving your character in some fashion, and it just keeps you motivated to see that next area. And with the game leaning a little on the easy side, there's really nothing to stop you from moving forward to get all these dopamine hits. So, needless to say, Dungeons exploration is highly rewarding. My only real complaint is the map not showing your exact position in rooms, but that's more of a nitpick. The map itself is serviceable with its use of colors to differentiate biomes, though it doesn't let you mark it up, which would have been handy for backtracking to find special items needed for the true ending. But because the game's so small, and the game automatically marks up points of interest, not being able to mark up the map isn't a big deal. Plus, if you study the map closely, you'll find some hints on where secrets may lie. That's it for exploration. Tiny Dangerous Dungeons Remake absolutely nails exploration, offering a distilled and rewarding Metroidvania experience in a compact world. The game masterfully balances structured progression with moments of open-ended discovery, keeping players engaged with a steady stream of meaningful rewards. The subtle ways it shifts expectations, like breaking the find key, find door formula, help immerse players in its world, while its bite-sized map ensures backtracking never feels tedious. Minor nitpicks aside, exploration in dungeons is a near-perfect example of how to make a small world feel vast, engaging, and worth uncovering.
Atmosphere, narrative.
This is another section I can keep relatively short and sweet. Dungeons boasts nostalgic pixel art visuals with cartoony and bright designs and a catchy soundtrack that pays homage to 90s platformers. I found the game's enemies to be especially endearing, as you're really just fighting frogs, fish, and bats, creatures that really don't have threatening auras, though there are spiders, so if you have arachnophobia, you might want to be a little weary. Though the spiders are designed a little on the cuter side of things, for what that's worth. As far as narrative goes, you get all you need in the game's opening cutscene. There's a dungeon full of treasures, and Timmy wants them. There's also some talk of a goddess or something. I'm sure that won't be important later. Hey, what's this mysterious crystal I found do? Maybe I'll find out once I collect them all and finish the game. Yup, that's right. This game has 2 endings for those who explore the dungeon thoroughly. The endings aren't going to set your soul on fire, but obtaining the true ending is a whole lot of fun and totally worth doing. Because it gives the final boss a second phase, and all I ever want from True Paths is a tougher, newer boss as a reward. But you didn't hear any of this from me. That's it for this section. Tiny Dangerous Dungeons Remake delivers a charming and nostalgic atmosphere, blending bright pixel art visuals with a catchy, retro-inspired soundtrack. Its lighthearted enemy designs and whimsical tone make for a cozy experience, even when spiders are involved. The narrative keeps things simple, but the addition of a true ending adds just enough intrigue to reward dedicated explorers. While the story won't leave a lasting impact, the game's world is engaging enough to make the journey feel worthwhile. Especially when that final true boss kicks things up a notch.
Final thoughts and score.
Tiny Dangerous Dungeons Remake is a charming, bite-sized Microvania that embraces its retro roots while making smart improvements over the original. The platforming is tight and rewarding, the dungeon is fun to explore, and the game does a great job of steadily introducing new abilities to keep things fresh. While it doesn't reinvent the genre, it excels at what it sets out to do: deliver a compact, nostalgic experience that respects the player's time. Some players might find the game a bit too short, and the combat is fairly simple, but these are minor complaints in the grand scheme of things. If you're looking for a short and sweet Metroidvania that captures the spirit of classic Game Boy adventures while offering modern polish, or you want something accessible for your son or daughter or niece or nephew, Tiny Dangerous Dungeons Remake is definitely worth your time. I award Tiny Dangerous Dungeons Remake an 8 out of 10. Tiny Dangerous Dungeons Remake is on PC and mobile devices. A quick note for viewers with arachnophobia: this game does have spiders, though their designs are cartoony. I played Tiny Dangerous Dungeons Remake exclusively on the Steam Deck with 0 issues. Therefore, I give Tiny Dangerous Dungeons Remake a Steam Deck rating of verified.
Tear placement.
Tiny Dangerous Dungeons Remake delivers exactly what it promises: a small, polished, and highly enjoyable retro Metroidvania experience. While it may not be the most ambitious title in the genre, its excellent level and world design, rewarding exploration, and nostalgic charm make it a great choice for fans of classic Metroidvanias and younger audiences new to gaming. Due to its short length and simplistic combat, it doesn't quite reach the heights of top-tier MVs, but it stands strong as a fun, well-designed experience. Tiny Dangerous Dungeons Remake remakes itself in the B tier. In the brief time I had with Tiny Dangerous Dungeons Remake's world, I had a lot of fun. You really can't go wrong with a short yet well-designed experience like this. It just goes to show, big things come in tiny dungeons.